Sup fellow nerds, it is good to see you, and last night's episode of Flux was going to be a tough one for old Chibbers. We've had good parts of this series and bad parts, and chapter 4 was going to be the hardest challenge yet. When the angels were revealed to be returning in series 13, myself and a lot of other people just sort of went, really? The Weeping Angels debuted back in 2007's Blink, an episode penned by the, at the time, soon-to-be showrunner Stephen Moffat, and it is arguably one of the best, if not the best, episode of NuWho to this date. That, of course, meant that these villains would come back, and that they did, and their subsequent solo stories were nothing short of, pretty flipping terrible. I mean, come on, the Statue of Liberty is an angel? Fuck off, quite frankly. But after 8 years, they're back, and they're under the helm of Chris Chibnall. Doesn't fill you with much hope, does it? Well, I was pleasantly surprised. First up, I was kinda right. The angel hijacking the TARDIS needed help, an asylum of the Dalek situation, if you will. It's 1967 and everyone's looking for Peggy, someone assumedly taken by the angels. Bingo, also right about that one. Now, as if Chris had been listening to me for at least a hot 5 seconds, when the Doctor arrives in this supposed unknown time, she goes and sniffs Old Man Gerald's coat before working out where she is, so hats off to that, no sonicking there. But actually no, it gets hot and it leads her down to Professor Jericho's basement, where we find Claire, who we first met in chapter 1. So before we take a look at anything else, let's talk about Claire. Supposedly, she's a seer who had a vision of an angel. An image of an angel can itself become an angel, etc. It takes over her mind and uses her as sort of a puppet, I guess. It's like a new take on what happened to Amy in the time of Angels on Flesh and Stone, but without all of the angel Bob and the rest of that surrounding bollocks. It transpires that this angel is actually a rogue angel of a fleet of them that worked for the elusive division, and that made this episode all that more meaty. Hence why the Doctor Who Twitter was like, yo, big spoilers, a video of Jodie Whittaker saying there are spoilers. You know it's important when that gets posted prior to an episode. So the angel took refuge in Claire's mind and used her to lure the Doctor into a trap, which was that appearance in chapter 1, and after she's caught, she is recalled back to the division. And this episode ends with the Doctor becoming an angel herself, which is not only terrifying, but genuinely a visual treat. As to whether this transformation was included as a means of transporting the Doctor back as like a prisoner to the division, or they simply did it for the sake of shock factor, we'll not necessarily know, at least yet. But either way, that was actually pretty awesome. So yeah, I was quite surprised as to how the angels were brought back into the fray this week, and was really pleased with how the episode was written, but that's probably more on Maxine Alderton's part. She previously wrote The Haunting of Villa Diodati, and if you remember rightly, that was a damn good episode. I assume it's a dual written episode because Chibs focused on the Flux side of things, while Maxine focused on the Angel side of things, and my goodness me, did she do them justice. Second best to Blink, in my opinion. Never thought I'd say that, but here we are. And on the point of Chibnall stuff, there's actually a really good thing about this era that's been further solidified with this episode. Now, again, this might not be super relevant to solely Chris, because apparently, supposedly, Maxine wrote the Angels part of this episode, Chris wrote the Flux, as said. But this era has done something really well, and that's Chris giving the legendary villains of Doctor Who some really good justice on screen. Normally it's his original concepts that don't necessarily land very well, but taking existing monsters and doing something new with them, maybe not the Time Lords themselves, you know, Timeless Child stuff, still to be sorted out, but the villain side of thing, he's done really well. The Cybermen, the lone Cyberman stuff, that was pretty great. The Cyber Lords, they kind of came and went, might not see them again, so I can let that slide, but the lone Cyberman stuff, that was pretty great. The Sontarans, only 2 episodes ago, that was flipping fantastic, probably better than how Russell T Davies did them. Controversial take? I don't know, I'll go back and watch, what's it called, Poison Earth and the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky, that's the one. Left me for a second there, but yeah, we'll go watch those again and see how they are, but Sontarans, he's done really well. And you know what, I will actually do a video in defense of Resolution, because I didn't hate Resolution. I thought he did the Daleks really, really well. Revolution of the Daleks had its moments. There were some good bits, some bad bits, but I think he's done the Daleks pretty well. Same with the Cybermen, same with the Sontarans, and now, arguably, sort of, same with the Angels. That's an actual genuinely good thing to take from this era of Who. But back to this week, the similar horror vibes present in Blink were back, and they were truly chilling in this episode. A spooky house under siege by the Angels was a great setting, and the wider, quiet village at night also lent itself to some pretty fantastic creepy moments. Leaning a bit more into the psychological this time in how the Angels used Jericho's voice and taunted the Doctor as she worked out what was going on was particularly ruthless. Plus, now we know what happens if you cross an angel twice. Not exactly a question we were asking, but an answer I'm sure we're quite happy to actually know the answer to. Something I've mentioned before, and I really do appreciate, and it's especially present in this episode, is how this era of Who have leaned into doing things more interestingly in a visual sense. Signing on DNEG to do the visual effects, while there were some ropey bits, we'll get to that a bit later. They've been fantastic in making Doctor Who look really quite good. The transitionary scenes between present and past were great, especially that of Jericho's angel encounter, and that sketch of eventually burning Angel down in the basement were really solid effects. However, that scene with Azure on the top of the hill was a bit ropey, and as per, the visual effects aren't always perfect every single episode, but the meh was very much outweighed by the actually quite good this week. Speaking of Azure on a hill, I love Blake Harrison. Yes, we all know him for twatting around in the In-Betweeners, but he is a genuinely great actor, and I actually really like the B-plot of this week featuring him and Belle. Not surprised to see her back so soon, and I'm happy that her cutaways aren't solely focused on her just finding Vinda. Now, I've criticised Who in the past about not showing more contextualisation of when something big and universe-ending is happening. I think it's something I mentioned in chapter 1, I believe, when you just saw that random planet getting wiped out. That's the kind of thing that gives these big universe-ending threats some actual tangibility. Sometimes Who just completely overlooks that, but not the Flux. Seeing this refugee-like planet being used as a means of walking cattle to the slaughter is heartbreaking and chilling. Just what are Azure and Swarm doing with all these people and Passenger? I guess we'll have to wait and see, but I really do appreciate the fact that the Doctor Who production team are giving this sort of stuff time and effort, and I love that. It's the first universe-ending plot that actually feels like things are going to hell. I didn't get that same feeling in the Pandorica Opens like I do here, and yet in that episode, you kind of do see at least a wider shot of everything going to shit. Performance-wise, I've already mentioned how much I love Blake Harrison, but hats off to Annabelle Sholey, hope I've said that right, and Kevin McNally for their performances as Claire and Jericho respectively. I loved these two characters, and I'm quite thankful that we're supposedly going to have them tag along for at least another chapter. Maybe? Claire is with the Doctor, but now that they've got the Doctor, the Angels might leave her alone. Not sure yet, but Jericho is in 1901 with Yaz and Dan. Oh yeah, companions. Definitely feeling like a weaker link this week, but at least they were out of the way, but still doing something. We got a bit more of Yaz doing a policey thing. Remember, she's a police officer, which was good at least, but Dan just kind of tottered about. It gave 1901 a little bit more context in this story, but it still felt kinda tacked on. Perhaps our writing duo put themselves in a bit of a corner this week by including 1901 because arguably, if it weren't for our companions and Jericho being zapped back, it would have been irrelevant. But Peggy being left alive to tell the story of the Angels 66 years later just to further push that psychological torment of the Angels was awesome. Maybe this 1901 setting will become more apparent next week since Dan and Yaz are stuck there, but that's just another stuff for the box of stuff we're already doing stuff with. 2 chapters to go. But finally, there were a couple of things that left me scratching my head. If the town was removed from space and time as a means of quantum extraction, I assume that when the town was scooped up by the Angels and bunged into space, it left a perfectly empty copy behind, right? Then it could be reoccupied and scooped up again 66 years later, which is supposedly what happened. Otherwise, the Earth would have a big crater there? Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey, I guess? But we do see that residents are still present in the village once it's been scooped, since Gerald and Watsit were still milling about. So where were the 1901 residents? If the 1967 residents could still be present when it's been scooped up, which it was, what happened to the 1901 ones? Since it's been scooped at this point, but Peggy was there, Yaz and Dan appear there, but where's the rest of them? Were they angeled pre-scoop? Were they scooped and then angeled, or what? Also, where did that Reverend go? Was he re-angeled in 1901 off-screen? Might be relevant going forward, maybe not, but to be honest, none of that is massively episode-breaking here. Now, I never thought I would say this about an Angels episode. You know my thoughts on Angels episodes post-Blink, but this has been the best Angels episode since Blink. Not better than, God no, but at least the best of the rest, I guessed. Anyway, this week is getting a 7.5. It would have been an 8, but minus points because the Doctor Sonic the fucking rock. But what did you guys think of Village of the Angels? Let me know your marks out of 10 and your thoughts in the comments section below. Genuinely do love reading your comments. Also, if you're enjoying the content, why not hit subscribe to this channel, because there is more Flux stuff coming your way and even more content in the pipeline. All up here, actually it's written down, but it's come from up here. More content on the way. And finally, please do check out Amy and I's Escaping Castebra's NuWho rewatch podcast. You've seen the episodes being uploaded here, but we will be getting to the newer ones. We've got what's next. Shakespeare Code is coming your way, hopefully by the end of this week. So please do check that out. Links also to those in the description below. But that is it for this week. Thank you all very much for watching. And until I see you again, take care of yourselves. I'll see you next week.